Fellow members, well, we made it. Yeah. Thanks. When we met in this room 1 year ago, we faced huge challenges, but we had equally big ambitions, and together we resolved that extraordinary times call for extraordinary actions. I think it all turned out pretty well. What do you all think? Yeah? And what a year it's been, and what an honor and a privilege it's been for me to serve through it as your president. We chose making progress as a theme for our annual general meeting 1 year ago. I think it's safe to say that we did just that. Together, we really did make progress, and what's more, we made change. Yeah. Ensemble, nous n'avons pas seulement progressé, nous avons vraiment changé les choses. Remember that feeling of relief you felt on October the 20th? It was well-deserved, and so was the celebration that followed. Because, you know what? We really do need to celebrate our victories. And when it comes to victories, it doesn't get much better than what we achieved on October the 19th. But colleagues, we should never forget the challenge that we faced, and most importantly, how we responded, how we stepped up, and how we made change. I know I'm not the first to say this, but it's well worth repeating. Those who forget their history are condemned to repeat it. And I can assure you that the last 9 years are not something I want to relive, ever. And I can tell you that I want to do everything in my power to make sure that my children or their children don't have to either. I'd like to take a moment to salute someone who I know would agree with this sentiment. A great Canadian and one of my personal heroes, former Parliamentary Budget Officer Kevin Page. Page did his very best to hold the Harper government to account in extremely difficult circumstances. And I'm pretty sure he earned Stephen Harper's eternal disdain, which I, of course, consider to be a badge of honor. Late last year, Kevin Page set the tone for the rest of us. He gave a voice and legitimacy to something that many Canadians were feeling when he said, "We can't waste this election." And you know what? We listened, and we didn't waste it. L'an dernier, notre conseil d'administration et notre AGA ont pris une très importante décision. Les paroles de Kevin Page résonnaient encore dans nos oreilles. Mais nous pensions aussi aux milliers de fonctionnaires qui ont reçu un avis de réaménagement d'effectifs, qui s'efforçaient de faire plus avec moins, dans un milieu de travail de plus en plus toxique, tout en subissant le mépris de leur employeur. Nous répondions aussi aux voix de millions de Canadiens qui ont fait les frais des réductions de services publics et des politiques du gouvernement conservateur. We didn't take this decision lightly, but we did take it enthusiastically, and we did put our full weight behind it. We set out to make a case for change by exposing the government's record and explaining what was at stake. And you know as well as I do, we made our case everywhere. In the workplace, at the doorstep, and on the airwaves. And I am so proud of what we achieved together. Through our Better Together member engagement program, we informed, we engaged, and we mobilized thousands of our members. From rallies and lunch and learns to desk drops and leafleting, our activists made their mark right across this country. I am just so very proud of all of you. And we reached out to so many more Canadians in our communities and on the doorstep with lawn signs, print, web, and radio ads and billboards. And fellow members, the Professional Institute's media profile in the last few months was without precedent in our history. We have literally been seen and heard by millions. And what I'm most proud of is how we took our professionalism and our commitment to serving Canadians to the next logical level. We did this by stepping up and battling to make sure that the Canada of our future and of our children's future can count on a professional public service. A public service that acts on the basis of evidence and with the sole purpose of protecting the public good and making progress for all Canadians. Nous avons donc eu une année difficile, une année de travail acharné et de grands défis, qui s'est conclue par une très belle victoire le 19 octobre. Notre approche réfléchie et stratégique nous a permis de marquer plusieurs bons points dans cette ronde de négociations avec le Conseil du Trésor. Avec un employeur déterminé à détruire notre régime de congé de maladie, nous avons conclu un pacte de solidarité efficace avec tous les syndicats de la fonction publique fédérale. Going to the bargaining table, up against the most anti-union government in our history, we put in place an unprecedented level of coordination between our groups that will serve the Institute and its members well for many years and rounds to come. Just to make it crystal clear to the employer that we were all in this together, Vice President Shannon Bittman and I joined our groups at the table. I was with the NRs for the case management of sick leave, the SHs to fight for arbitration, the REs for access to workplaces, and the CSs for our response on the Treasury Board's sick leave proposal. While our employer was doing everything possible to focus attention on its agenda of concessions on sick leave, we captured the imagination and praise of many Canadians and others around the world when we took our demands for scientific integrity to the bargaining table. With the Harper government ready and willing to use another omnibus bill, C-59, to override our constitutional rights, together with our federal union partners, we initiated an international labor organization complaint and, most importantly, sought a court injunction to block their action. Solidarity, coordination, and a multi-track approach that combine legal tools, research, and above all else, engagement and mobilization. That's how we navigated the stormy waters and made it to October the 19th. And I have to say that our bargaining strategy has also benefited from the hard work and commitment of our elected officials. Putting together responsibility for negotiation, pensions, and benefits under Vice President Shannon Bittman has really paid off. Thank you, Shannon. And Shannon, wherever she is. And Shannon is only one vital member of a very strong board of directors this year. At our last AGM, I told you how important teamwork at all levels was going to be for us to be successful going forward. And today I want to recognize the members of the board of directors for meeting this challenge. Our directors were often on the front lines of our mobilization and engagement work, both here in the NCR and throughout our regions. They were right there where and when we needed them, providing real leadership, speaking at rallies, organizing plant gating, putting up lawn signs, and canvassing in the community. I also want to draw attention to an equally important contribution our directors made this year that might get overlooked. My board colleagues worked with me to move us to a new decision-making process this year. Friends, our board of directors now works together to provide a strategic focus and a strategic agenda for all of our work. And I have no doubt that this change was extremely important to our success. We proved that when we work together, stand together, and take on opponents together, there is absolutely nothing that we can't achieve, except maybe getting rid of every last Harper Conservative in the National Capital Region. But we gave it a ride, and we came close. And we can be proud of how we got the vote out, making voter turnout here in the National Capital Region, where over 100,000 public servants live and work, the highest in the nation. While the federal election and Treasury Board bargaining were the biggest ticket items of 2015, we had many other successes. Our CRPEG members at Canadian Nuclear Labs fought off a serious threat to their pension plan and successfully ratified an agreement. With hardworking leaders like Vince Frazina and Jonathan Fitzpatrick, they showed us how a campaign that focuses on public interest issues can support a strong stand in defense of pensions at the bargaining table. At the same time, our New Brunswick groups have continued their fight to reverse the previous provincial PC government's imposition of a target benefit pension plan in their province. And many of our New Brunswick groups have also ratified collective agreements during this year. All of this was made possible thanks to the leadership of our provincial groups in New Brunswick, Krista McDonald, Eric Boucher, Mike Pauley, Chris Titus, Misty Matthew Emery, and their colleagues. And I am sure they will want to join me in thanking full-time Vice President Steve Hindle for all of his leadership on this file too. Steve's role in New Brunswick, Steve's role in New Brunswick is an excellent example of the important contribution he brings to the leadership of the Institute. Our union and its members have enjoyed incredible success in the past year. But luckily, you don't have to take my word for it. We have evidence. Plenty of it.
Here's how we do things in the Harper
Muselle
government.
des scientifiques, on coupe dans la recherche.
La, 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 I can't hear you.
Federal government scientists and professionals.
Nanana, je coupe le financement. Stephen Harper a fait disparaître le bien collectif de la fonction
On
publique.
October 19th, let's elect a government that will put it back. This message authorized by the Professional Institute of the Public Service of Canada.
The union can be very supportive, and I'm so grateful for the union support that I had, and don't be afraid to speak.
Everyone sing! We want you gone, 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 you and your pawn, pawn, pawns. No more con, con, con. Time to move on. Get out of town, town, town. Don't want you round, round, round. Harper man, it's time for you to go. Harper man, where you gonna run to? Harper man, where you gonna run to? Harper man, where you gonna run to? On election day.
Tony Turner couldn't be with us today. He's enjoying a well-deserved, unmuzzled retirement. And hopefully we won't need to adapt the lyrics for a very long time. You know, good news travels fast. And the word is out there that there's a union that provides excellent representation and service to public service professionals, and that it's committed to improving in every way it can the social, economic, and environmental well-being of Canada and Canadians. That union is the Professional Institute of the Public Service of Canada. Et tout en continuant à tendre la main aux autres, nous reconnaîtrons aussi et soutiendrons notre diversité interne qui contribue considérablement à notre force. Notre structure a toujours reconnu la valeur de notre diversité professionnelle. Il est maintenant temps de reconnaître les autres pièces de la mosaïque de l'Institut. L'an dernier, nous avons créé un caucus des femmes. Cette année, grâce au dévouement de notre régent du Québec et surtout Michel Darèche-Leblanc, nous avons finalement mis sur pied un comité des jeunes. C'est cette année que nos initiatives pour mobiliser les jeunes à tous les niveaux de l'Institut vont vraiment prendre leur essor. Bien sûr, nous continuerons de profiter de la contribution formidable de nos membres retraités. Et nous les en remercions. Puis merci Terry Singh et merci à tous tes collègues pour ton assistance pendant l'élection fédérale. We all know that employment equity is at risk in the aftermath of cuts, and the last round of workforce adjustment has proven no exception. We'll be on high alert to defend employment equity, and I want to thank Wahid Khan for agreeing to lead these efforts as our champion. And so in 2016, we're going to continue to transform PIPS to take on the challenges of the 21st century. That means continuing to improve our research, mobilization, communications, and advocacy. All of these activities have more than proven their value over the past year. Investment in these areas pays big dividends. We've proved it. In the 21st century, of course, information technology is the backbone of any organization. Take it from a CS. So I'm really pleased that we have made a major commitment to IT modernization. For 2016, we've set our sights on restoring the balance. Canada's public service professionals know only too well how much damage was done during the Harper years. Restoring the balance means repealing outrageously one-sided and unfair anti-labor legislation like Bills C-377 and C-525. It means putting omnibus budget bills where they belong, in the garbage. Restoring the balance means reinvesting in critical programs and services that keep Canadians healthy, safe, and prosperous. It means leaving behind a hyper-partisan and secretive government that was allergic to evidence so that we can reclaim the independent, professional, transparent, and evidence-based public service we all signed up for. Restoring the balance means moving beyond a government whose political leaders modeled and promoted disrespect of the public service and those of us who work in it, and rebuilding at every level relationships that are based in mutual respect and integrity. And of course, restoring the balance means rejecting anti-democratic law and returning to free and fair collective bargaining. You'll be happy to know that one day into the new Minister of the Treasury Board's mandate, I received a phone call on my personal cell phone. One day. For 2 years, I've been president, and for many years before that, as the vice president in charge of negotiations, I never received a single phone call or had a meeting accepted with Minister Clement. But one day into the new minister's mandate, we had an extremely productive and great conversation about how we can work together moving forward. So, yeah. 1 year ago, we reached out to the candidates who aspired to lead our country. This is the message we received from one of them. I want to replay it for you.
Bonjour à tous, ici Justin Trudeau. Au nom du Parti libéral du Canada, permettez-moi de vous souhaiter une excellente Assemblée générale annuelle. Chaque jour, vos membres s'efforcent de travailler pour le bien de la population. Votre expertise et votre expérience permettent d'orienter les politiques publiques, de protéger notre patrimoine naturel et d'assurer la sécurité des Canadiens. You support the operations of our federal institutions, ensure the fair application of our laws, and protect the economic interests of our government and of all Canadians. I know these are difficult days for many of you in the public service. The government's changes to the arbitration and conciliation processes, as well as changes to how essential services are designated, have tilted the playing field so far in favor of the employer that the bargaining table seemingly no longer exists. But I'm confident that there are better days ahead of us. Je peux vous assurer qu'un futur gouvernement libéral reconnaîtra à leur juste valeur votre travail et les services que vous offrez en tant que professionnel. Let me repeat that. A future Liberal government would value your work and the services you provide as professionals. Even though so much of your work takes place behind the scenes and out of the public eye, know that we and all Canadians value the contributions that you make from day to day and in the course of your professional and public careers. Encore une fois, je vous souhaite une Assemblée générale annuelle aussi excellente que productive. Thank you very much.
I think he meant it then, and I think he still means it now. And if he doesn't, his wife is going to hold his feet to the fire for us. As you know, I wrote to Prime Minister Trudeau immediately following Election Day. I congratulated the Prime Minister and told him that we have welcomed his positive message, his personal commitment, and his party's promises. On behalf of our members, I told Prime Minister Trudeau that we're ready and anxious to work with his new government to deliver real change. Colleagues, we've been preparing for this moment. I've been preparing for this moment. Même si nous avons consacré la majeure partie de notre énergie à mettre fin au règne de Stephen Harper, nous avons aussi avancé des solutions à rechange positif pour que je concrétise les changements pour lesquels nous avons travaillé si fort. Et tout début de la campagne électorale fédérale, le plus long du siècle, j'ai demandé à tous les partis de répondre à un questionnaire sur nos principaux enjeux pour connaître leur position. Vers la fin de la campagne électorale, j'ai communiqué avec la greffière du conseil privé, lui offrant nos services pour collaborer à réparer les dégâts causés à la fonction publique. When I look at the positions staked out by our new government during the campaign, I think we have good reason to be hopeful. We have put years of effort into defending federal government science and our members who deliver it. During the campaign, along with many others who have joined us in this effort, we called on the candidates to reinvest in public science and unmuzzle government scientists. The Liberal Party's response to us was unequivocal. A Liberal government will revoke rules and regulations that muzzle government scientists and ensure the federal government rebuilds its capacity to deliver on evidence-based decision-making. And a warm welcome back to the long-form census. And here's the clincher. Not only did the leader throw in a photo op for good measure, thank you to Rex Salem for helping to make this happen, but as of this week, Canada is a country with, count them, not one, but 2 federal science ministers. And added to that, from Ottawa Centre, a Minister of Environment and Climate Change. But the commitments don't stop there. We asked all the parties to put integrity back in the tax system, reinvest in the CRA's capacity to target tax cheats, and stop picking on charities. In Prime Minister Trudeau's letter to public servants, published a few weeks before the election, he wrote that his government will introduce a significant overhaul of the Canada Revenue Agency, including doing more to combat international tax evasion and ending the political harassment of charities. Nous avons aussi demandé à ceux qui veulent former le prochain gouvernement d'utiliser leurs ressources internes au lieu de sous-traiter. Il faut réduire la fonction publique fantôme, les menaces qu'elle pose à la sécurité des données et la croissance des dépenses du gouvernement. Dans le cadre financier du Parti libéral diffusé à la fin de la campagne, il était annoncé qu'un gouvernement libéral diminuerait le recours aux conseillers externes pour ramener les dépenses près de leur niveau de 2005-2006. It's good, yeah? Could be better. We urge Canada's government to reassert the rule of law and turn the page on conservative abuses. The Liberal Party responded with a commitment to repeal Bills 377 and 525. They added to this a further commitment to end the fundamentally anti-democratic practice of omnibus budget bills and to review C4 and C59. Last but not least, Prime Minister Trudeau wrote the following to all public servants in September. Responsible government must respect the union negotiation process. A Liberal government would review the bargaining mandate to ensure that it's fair and reasonable for public services, for the public service and all Canadians. These are all important commitments from a new majority government, and we need to see that they are all achieved. We need to build on what we've accomplished so far. Yes, we need to celebrate our victories, but if we don't do what we must to ensure real change through engagement, mobilization, and advocacy, history tells us that we will stop making progress. When it comes to collective bargaining, we've achieved an important objective, a government willing to level the playing field. But now, we have to step back onto that field and work for the win. So as we head back to the bargaining table, we should be hopeful and optimistic, but also as committed as ever to engaging every member in every workplace in this critical process. To make real progress on contracting out, which we will do in 2016, solid data and strong arguments are essential, but the facts and the messages must be assembled into a campaign that reaches out, connects, communicates, and wins. On science, the opportunity to make real progress is here. We need to continue to push to enshrine scientific integrity into our collective agreements. We also need to take a seat at the table where we can work constructively with others to make this genuine change. These are all part of the big task before us in 2016, restoring the federal public service so that it can truly serve Canadians and their aspirations. Dans cette campagne électorale, j'ai eu la chance de rencontrer beaucoup d'entre vous et beaucoup de membres de l'Institut. La campagne a été longue et les jours les plus sombres où l'espoir n'était qu'une lueur à l'horizon. C'est votre énergie et votre engagement qui m'ont remis sur pied. Vers le milieu de la campagne, j'ai rencontré un membre qui s'appelle Raj. Il s'est présenté et je n'oublierai jamais ses paroles. After sharing our mutual concern for the future of the public service and of our country, Raj said, "I've been happy to stand behind you in the past, and I'm proud to stand next to you in this campaign. And I'll stand in front of you, if necessary, in the future." Raj, now that Harper's Conservative government is gone, I'm more confident that it won't come to that. I got to admit, when we made the front cover of The Sun, I was a little worried. There seems to be no urgent need for anyone to stand in front of anyone else, but it's just as important as it has ever been for us to stand together. It is my great privilege to serve as your president and to stand with all of you, because we are truly better together. Nous sommes vraiment bien mieux ensemble. Merci. Thank you.
Thank you.